Actually, I'm going to be bringing a bunch of pinch blocks and block weights to the market here pretty soon, most likely. I've amassed this collection of equipment that I didn't even realize was so expansive, and a lot of this stuff I am just never going to use, and someone out there needs this stuff. So I'm going to be putting this stuff up for sale, most likely on dieselcrew.com or eBay or something. I just don't have a need for it. And I just bought a whole bunch of stuff. It just came in a box this week or last week. And I only wanted one implement out of the set that I bought. So the rest of the stuff's going to go on the market too. So that's the stuff that I would sell. And I would probably never sell my inch dumbbells or blobs. Hey, Kevin, thanks, brother. Missed talking with you. I hope everything's going well. I know you had a pretty significant injury there when we were last talking. I hope that's all cleared up, and I hope your bowling and your golfing and whatever else that you've got going on is going great, my man. Thanks for reaching out and commenting on this. Hey, this is an interesting question. Man, there's a lot of great Finnish grip athletes. I can tell you that anytime you're going up against Arto Gironin and King Kong, that you got to be aware of him. Jesse Pinunen is great across the board. He is extremely strong. Ari Talonen, just good at everything. You yourself, you're an up-and-comer, so you're a force to be reckoned with. As far as the best one, I'm not sure. I don't digest the results from contests these days like I used to. It looks like Jesse is mostly focused on strongman right now, but he's always a force. But one of those guys probably, constantly have to be aware of him coming out on top in a contest. That's probably the toughest question that's been asked on this series. I gotta tell you gotta feed each hand the way that they need to be fed. So you can't do a bunch of extra stuff for the weaker hand and expect it to come up, because you're most likely going to overwhelm the recovery of that hand. So there's no really good way to go about it. And it also depends on what you're talking about. If it's grippers, then the left hand may never catch up to the right hand, because the mechanics of the spring are set up so that the right hand has a better chance of performance. So you just got to do what works best for you and for that hand. The attachment points, the layout, the anatomy of the hands, they're not always the same. So one could potentially be stronger than the other forever. Hey, I think it's up to about 10 people that have done that. The most recent was Ben Helms. He only weighs like between 220 and 230 pounds. And he's done it more times than anybody else in history has done it, as far as I know. So I was pretty sure I held that record, because I've done it maybe like 10 times, but he can do it like 10 times in one day. So you got to look him up. But as far as like some other people that have done it in the last few years, I know Jesse Pinunen has done it. Carl Meyerskoff has done it. Obviously Mark Henry. There's a guy that a lot of people don't know about, Ryan Green, who did like a clean and a strict press back in like 2007. So there's actually quite a few people. Yeah. So I actually answered this question years ago on my YouTube. So I've got like a really detailed response about that. But I think with the right events, Brian Shaw could maul me. But also with the right events, I could totally beat him. So if we were to look at Nationals, for instance, which is on June 10th, you got grippers, and I think I could probably beat him in grippers, because I don't think I just doubt that he's technically sound in grippers. In the 2x5 pinch, he could probably beat me. in the 2-inch Napalm's Nightmare, he could probably beat me. So right there, he's ahead by quite a bit. With the little Bighorn, I think I would have the advantage, although I'm not sure how good he is. And then the medley is going to be an absolute showdown, and it depends on... So I ran out of time there. I was just going to say that I think with the medley, it would depend on what events were in the medley. So right now, the way that it's working this year is each person is either bringing their own implement or they can borrow one of mine. So it's not like 20, 30 implements where some of them are gimme implements and others are very challenging. They're all going to be very challenging. So I went with something that is highly technical, and it's probably something that Brian Shaw has never seen. So I don't know if he'd be able to do it, right? So I don't know. It would be a very close matchup if Brian Shaw were to show up at Nationals this year. And but I would welcome the challenge. I would train even harder than I'm training right now if I knew that Brian Shaw was coming. It would be awesome. Why did I focus on grippers? So this goes back to the fact that before I even knew what grip sport was, I was a strongman competitor. I had already committed to competing at a strongman contest in August of 2003. And when I found out about grip competitions, I figured this was something that would benefit my strongman stuff. I didn't really care too much about grip sport, but I really cared about strongman because I was really good at it, especially back in those times. You know, I won a lot of contests when I was younger and when the sport was newer. So that's why I took on grip training. Grippers didn't really excite me too much, but I stuck with them because I had to for competitions. I would definitely suggest making your health and longevity and training the priority. You never want to have those be an expense of getting stronger. So I'm always listening to my joints, and if there's an exercise that seems to be messing with my joints, then I don't do that exercise. I don't care if every other person in the world is doing the exercise. If it doesn't seem to work well for my body, then I don't do it. Same with connective tissues, soft tissues, stuff like that. So a real good example would be a machine. If I'm on the road and I try out a machine and it feels like it's not jiving well with my joints, then I don't do that anymore. So I would suggest that. Not to mention recovery, proper diet, supplementation, sleep, hydration, all that stuff, plus more goes along with it. Well, it's been a long time since I trained stones. It's probably been about 4 years. I love stone lifting, don't get me wrong. The thing is, the stones are not at my gym. I do almost all of my training at my gym. So I would need to train at the place where my stones are at in order to do that. Also, the tacky is a pain in the ass. So like, you know, it gets on your clothes, and then I can't risk having it get on my grip equipment. So that's a detractor. But so I'm not against stone lifting by any means. I'm not afraid to do it. It's just the separation between the gym and where my stones are and the mess that gets in the way. Maybe sometime though. We'll have to see. Maybe now that it's nice.